All right, we are live here. The bracket was just announced moments ago. It's a big day for your team, Sheets, Big 12 champs. So we will get right into our first impressions of the bracket. And then, of course, our guests will be joining us one by one. We're going to plan for, like we do at the NFL one, 5-minute increments. As we know, it can be a little bit chatty. So plan for about 5 to 10 minutes. So if you are in that list, please buffer with us, bear with us. But let's get into our first impressions into the bracket.
Shitty, Meisner. Shitty.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you go first, but I have the same view as you.
So as an Iowa State fan, that was probably worst case scenario, and as an Iowa citizen, because I would love to see Drake and Iowa State go as far as possibly can, and now two of our Iowa teams are eliminated. Or one of them's for sure eliminated in the round of 32, which sucks. And then South Dakota State, also kind of a close team. I kind of like them. Stolken's got a buddy that plays on there. I used to play golf with a kid in high school that's on that team, Luke Apple. I wanted to see them go far too. So this is just real shitty Sheets. But I think we deserve, or not deserved. You could have made an argument for a 1 seed for us. I'm fine with the 2 seed. But, and then Indiana State being left out really kind of fucked up too, I thought. But what was your biggest takeaway?
I mean, my biggest takeaway, I'm pissed off for the lack of respect shown towards the Mountain West. The committee clearly doesn't know about, because as we've talked about on multiple of our multiple broadcasts in the past couple weeks, Mountain West is for real, and they disrespected them totally. They put 2 Mountain West teams in the first 4 that had no business playing in that game. Boise State and Colorado State were not one of the last 4 teams in the tournament. Not at all. And then you put in fucking Virginia, dog shit Virginia. They can't score 60 points a game. About made me vomit when I saw Virginia's name on there. I can't believe it. And then talk about a disrespected team. Oklahoma gets left out. Yeah, they kind of struggled down the stretch there, but you got to take in the season as a whole. And that team started off like 12-0, 13-0, something like that. And they look fine in Big 12 play. I thought they got disrespected. And then FAU as an 8 seed, they completely avoid the first 4. They should have been in the tournament, don't get me wrong, but that was a team that was a Final Four team last year and then underperformed this year in conference play in the AAC, that just lost Houston, just lost UCF. It should have been theirs for the taking, and instead they dicked around all regular season. Then they go out early in the conference tournament. How are they an 8 seed? And then Gonzaga should have been a 7. They were a 5. But fuck them anyways. I think they got a tougher draw, played McNeese anyways. So that's my little rant. I think the selection committee is completely corrupt. Indiana State had a 29 net ranking and they get left out. Boise State has a 25 net ranking and they're in the first 4. Completely embarrassing. I think FAU should have been playing the first 4. I think both Mountain West schools should have been completely avoided the first 4. And then A&M probably should have been in the first 4. And then I wouldn't even put Virginia in the tournament. It's a joke.
If you watch the whole selection show, they had the chairman or some guy from the committee come on and talked about Indiana State. And they're the lowest net ranking ever to not make the tournament.
Yeah.
And so I just saw a tweet, someone you'd leave out Indiana State and you leave out Pitino, not Richard Pitino.
Yeah.
And their team doing America a disservice, but is what it is. Some of the games, I took a look at this bracket and the first actually the whole Iowa State side besides our game. I'm like, yep, I'm gonna get this all correct. Sheets. Now I say that I know I won't, but you just want to take a look at the 8-9 games to start. I think some of those are the most intriguing.
Sure, yeah. We can do you want to go by region? Let's just go by region. That's the easy.
Okay. We'll start in the East, top half of the East. UConn got a pretty easy draw, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, Stetson, they were definitely the best of the 16 seed. That's why they don't have to play in the first 4. It's their first trip ever to the NCAA tournament. The Hatters, their mascot is as a cowboy hat. I love it. So good for them to getting in. They'll probably lose 108 to 50. But
yeah. 26.5 spread already. UConn, Stetson.
Yeah, I would take UConn.
FAU, Northwestern. I think Northwestern is going to take that game. I think FAU is a decent team, but I don't think they're. I don't know. Like you said, I don't know if they're worthy of it. 8 seed. I think Northwestern takes that. That was my first gut reaction. I have to look into what Northwestern's done this season, but and then UAB. I'm taking UAB over San Diego State.
We'll start with the 8-9 seed. So, like I just said, FAU is completely overseeded. Should have been in the first four. Should be playing on Tuesday or Wednesday. So, and now they're an 8 seed. They're probably going to be favored in that game. And they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be an 8 seed, and they're going to be the favorite. So, that to me, right off the bat, smells Northwestern wins. Boo Buie, one of the best players in the Big Ten. I see him getting a win for Northwestern and making it to that second round matchup against UConn. And then UAB, I mean, hats off to them for winning that conference tournament. I think they beat Temple today. They beat dog shit Temple. But they're there. So congrats to them. I think San Diego State gets an easy draw here. I think they'll win. That's a runner up from last year. They're playing the fourth best team in the fucking Conference USA, whatever, AAC fucking tournament. I think they'll win, but we'll see.
We're gonna move on to Auburn, Yale. I think people love to talk about because who did Yale beat in the last couple of years? They had an upset, I think.
They beat Baylor in 2016 or 2017. It was famous because Baylor got beat, and then Taurean Prince, who is in the NBA now, the reporter asked him, "Yeah, he got out rebounded," and he gave some smart ass, dumbass answer. Well, the rebound definition of the rebounds when you grab it off the rim, and they did that more than us. Yeah, we fucking know, man. How does Baylor get out rebounded by Yale? It's a bunch of white boys studying law. So
yeah, I think people are going to gravitate their mind towards that. Remember Yale and pick them. Although I think Auburn's going to run them into the ground like 90-62.
That's interesting because like you look at that right away and you say, "Oh, Auburn's going to beat the shit out of them." But Yale, I mean, those Ivy League teams are tricky. So I don't know. It's always tricky the Ivy League game. They like you think they're going to get shellacked, but it's not always that easy. They pull the upset sometimes. Thank you, Jody Wagner. In agreement. That was a dumbass question. It's a valid question. You just got upset by Yale and you gave a smart ass answer. I didn't like that. So we'll see with that one. The 6-11 here, Duquesne gets in and they face a BYU team who was red hot, but then kind of stunk. They lost the first game in the conference tournament, but I think they're going to come out pissed off. I think you probably agree there too.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm hesitant, but I've been high on BYU. I like BYU. Their white boys can ball. They've got great guards. I think the thing is beat, but if they beat Duquesne, I think they're going to take care of Illinois too. But God, I don't know. The way they played in the first round of the Big 12 tournament has me hesitating a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. Duquesne, good story too, even though I bet against them today, so I lost money, but it's still a good story. I think it's their first NCAA tournament appearance since like 1977, something like that. So good for them getting out of the A10 and going dancing again. I don't know. I think they'll get thumped by BYU. But I mean, I thought the same thing when Iowa played an A10 team that shouldn't have got in a couple years ago. That didn't work out. So we'll see what the Dukes can do. Now, Illinois, I think that's a tough draw as a 14 seed. I still think they'll get by. They look great today. They're the Big Ten champs. I think they'll get by Moorhead, but it's not a automatic dub. I think Moorhead State's going to show up and be ready to play, possibly cover whatever that spread is. I bet it'll be double digits, but I think they could possibly cover that. But shout out Illinois Big Ten champs. I'll give them their props. We'll have JJ on later to talk about them, but good because Michigan State kind of stunk it up, and then Purdue. I wanted Illinois to put on a show today, and they did that. So good for them. I'll let you take the last two here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Drake's going to beat the shit out of Washington State, and I think we're setting up Iowa State and Drake in the round of 32. Again, I like Drake, and to be honest with you, even if I didn't like him, that's a team I don't want to see in the tournament. I would rather see a South Carolina SEC fraud team than this Drake team out of Des Moines, but I I'm pretty damn confident we'll beat SDSU, and I'm pretty damn confident Drake will beat them. So it's just going to come down to that. If we can get out of that, we're looking at a potential rematch against BYU, maybe Illinois, or maybe Morehead State makes a little bit of a run. So not to look past SDSU, but I do think it's going to be Iowa State Drake. Are you on that same, or do you think we're going to lose to South Dakota State?
No, I think you should beat South Dakota State. It's not an easy draw just because they're kind of a veteran team. But no, I think you'll beat them. But then I think Washington State Drake's going to be a hell of a game. I think Drake will win that game, but it's going to be a hell of a game. They play kind of similar ball. I think it's going to be kind of low scoring, like mid 60s. I'm really excited for that game. I hope that's a late night game, like an 8:50, 9:15 tip. That would be nuts. Don't put that game during the day. Put that at night.
Yeah. Are you going to be subbing during the day, Thursday and Friday, you think, or no?
Thursday and Friday, they asked me a couple weeks ago. They said, "Hey, there's a spot open, but it's only a half day in the morning. Is that okay with you?" I said, "Sure thing." So
All right.
I'll be back. I might miss the first 11 a.m. game. I might miss the first half, but
That's all right. That's all right. If you'll get to see the majority, which is great. I'll be paying attention via radio and YouTube TV
yeah.
on my phone in the car. But we also have to, in order to get through this in the next 9 minutes, we got to move along.
Right,
So
right.
North Carolina takes the 1 seed here. Super intriguing matchup. Mississippi State, Michigan State. If you're Mississippi State, I don't think you want to see Tom Izzo in March. I'd be interested to see that spread. I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan State's favored. Um, Anything else stick out to you in this region?
I think Michigan State has a good shot to win that game and possibly go to the Sweet 16. Tough draw for North Carolina there. So perhaps you're fine with missing the 1 seed there, man.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you might be right there. I wouldn't want to play Michigan State either. Mississippi State's decent. I don't know. It's just I go back and forth. Would I rather play a couple mid-major teams like Drake and South Dakota State, who seem to have upsets in March, or would I rather play two of the middle of the road Power Six conference teams? But moving along, nothing really stuck out to me in the bottom of this bracket. I think it's going to be pretty chalk. Yeah, I don't see many upsets happening down here.
I mean, we'll have to see, man. Arizona's a 2 seed again after what they did last year, and now they face a Long Beach State team who agreed to fire their coach before the conference tournament started. They're like the 5 seed. They're like, yeah, he might win a game, but he's done. We're gonna fire him. And now they're in the NCAA tournament. They won the whole thing. He's gonna be fired at the end of the year. Now they're in the tournament, and they face Arizona, who lost last year. I don't know. That's intriguing. I think Dayton was overseeded. I think they'll lose to Nevada. Baylor will beat the pants off of Colgate. New Mexico over Clemson. Clemson's a fraud ACC school. Charleston, I think, beats Alabama. I don't like the way they play. So I think Charleston will win that one. And then you get a hell of a matchup. Put this game late at night, too. St. Mary's, California, Grand Canyon. Two very, very good mid-major schools going at it. So I like this bracket. I'm kind of in love with this West bracket. Love it a lot.
Yeah, one thing to know, Alabama does have to travel, so does Charleston, I guess, all the way to Spokane, Washington. So I like to look into that a little bit. Locations.
Yeah.
If you're flying all the way west, I don't like your chances.
Mhm.
Go up to the South region. Houston got the number one as anticipated. Nebraska, Texas A&M. I think that's going to be an awesome matchup. Buzz Williams, Fred Hoiberg. JMU, Wisconsin is also going to be. You know what? This might be my favorite side. You got Nebraska, A&M, Wisconsin, JMU, two. And then Vermont, Duke. I think all three of the underdogs there have a chance to win.
Yeah, this is another kind of loaded up bracket. Like you said, that's a hell of a game. Wisconsin and James Madison, Nebraska and A&M. I mean, they're supposed. The selection committee says it's all a number system, and however the numbers fall, the fuck they do. They look at the 8 and 9s and they say, okay, what can we do here? You know damn well they cooked with Nebraska and A&M. You know damn well that was cooked up. That was not by chance. That's going to be a hell of a game. Wisconsin, James Madison's going to be a hell of a game. Duke, Vermont could be a hell of a game. Vermont always plays good ball. Then you get an NC State team who wins 5 games in 5 days, wins the ACC tournament last night. And they play a good Texas Tech team. This bracket is also loaded up. I think, like you said, there's going to be potential upsets here. I do see like Kentucky beating the fuck out of Oakland. I don't see that happening. And then Florida, it's kind of I think they'll play the first four. I think they should beat either Boise State or Colorado, and possibly beat Marquette in the second round should they get by Western Kentucky. I think Florida could go on
What's
a little run at the bottom.
what is Kolek's injury update? Is he good to go? Or
I think so. I believe I. Who knows? I don't think anyone really knows for sure, but they made it sound like he was going to miss all the Big East to get ready for the tournament. Is what they made it sound like.
okay,
But that could also be the case where it's just really bad. He's not playing at all. But I think he's coming back. But that's something to keep an eye on the next couple of days.
yeah, I do. I like Marquette a lot if they have Kolek here because I think they can beat Kentucky and have no problem getting past Tech, Duke, whoever. Then we're going down to the Midwest. Purdue, the last one seed, another great 8-9. Utah State versus TCU. This side reminds me a little bit of the South. You got TCU, Utah State, Gonzaga, McNeese, one of the four teams who's won 30 plus games this year, and a banged up Kansas versus Sanford teams. And then you have Oregon, South Carolina, and South Carolina, I believe, is fraud in the SEC. So this side of the bracket could wreak some havoc as well.
Yeah, this was my first just initial thoughts as Purdue got an easy draw. I think they kind of did that. They lost to the 16 last year. They faced the winner, first of all, Montana State Grambling. So we do know what for sure. One thing is they will not repeat to the 16 because Montana State is 17-17, and Grambling State plays in the worst conference in Division One basketball. So they'll beat both of those teams by about 40 points. They have the best player in college basketball, so they won't. There will not be a repeat. Then like Utah State, TCU, I don't see that being much of a factor either. I think that's like a 10-point game, no matter who they play. So I like Purdue to go to the Sweet 16. They might jog their way to the Sweet 16, and I'm confident in saying that. I don't give a fuck what happened last year. I'm telling you right now, Sweet 16, Purdue jogging their way. Gonzaga, McNeese, dude. So like I said, Gonzaga has no business being a 5. They should be about a 6 or a 7. I had them as a 7. They're a 5 seed, and I think they got kind of punished for that. Excuse me. They have to play a damn good McNeese team who was coached by Will Wade, who took over immediately after Shaka Smart left at VCU, then went to LSU, had them jump started, and then got into just terrible recruiting violations, was cheating like crazy. But he goes to McNeese State, probably going to be a one and done year there. It's probably going to be I guarantee there's someone knocking on his door next year, if this year, if not the year after. But credit to him, he turns around McNeese State. I don't think they've been to the tournament in like 20 years. So that's going to be a great game. I think McNeese State will win that game. I think Kansas, I was kind of wondering what's going to happen with them. Sanford that could give them fits. I think they should get by them, but they could give them fits. And then Oregon, like he said, could be tricky over South Carolina. And I like my Jays here to go on a little bit of a run. I did not like the performance I saw from Tennessee in the SEC tournament. So I do like Creighton beating the brakes off Akron, and then probably beating Tennessee there too, if that's who they end up playing.
I'm big on the Blue Jays. I don't think Texas is worth a shit. I think at this side of the bracket, you're looking at Tennessee, Creighton, and then Purdue. Well, then it's kind of a crapshoot. I'm guessing if KU is healthy and they have Dickinson and McCullough, I don't know what McCullough's update is. They could probably hang with Purdue. I'd like to see that. I would love to see Purdue, KU, and then Creighton, Tennessee. A little chalky, but I think those would be the best matchups.
Usually, I'm high on Rick Barnes. I like him at Tennessee. He used to be the coach at Texas, and I thought he got shafted there when they fired him. So I usually like him, but I did not like what I saw from him in the SEC tournament. And then they play a team in St. Peter's who obviously won last year. Like that's not an easy draw. And then in the first 4 game, I think Colorado State's going to beat Virginia. Virginia's a fraud team, and I think they'll beat Texas. So that's probably a Tennessee Colorado State second round matchup. If Tennessee does win, I think Colorado State can maybe win that too. Usually, there's a first 4 team that goes to Sweet 16. I think even if it is Virginia, who I do think should be in the NIT right now, even if they do win that game, I think maybe they could do that same thing. I think that's one of the first 4 teams that makes a jump as a winner of that game. But I think it will be Colorado State.
I think if you're Tennessee, you don't want to play a team that plays good defense because they love to run up and down and shoot the ball. Dalton Connect. If they run into a team that makes them play their game instead of Tennessee's game, they may have some fits.
Yeah. All right, 6:20. Does that mean it's first interview time?
It is the first of many guests today.
And we have Matt McAleer up first.
Matthew,
fellas.
can you hear us okay?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah. What were your first thoughts? Did you watch the selection show, or are you just peeking at the bracket now?
I was watching Scotty Scheffler also win the Players, so didn't catch all the analysis. But at first glance, dude, I think this thing is just so wide open outside of, Houston and UConn. I think they'll easily get to the Elite Eight. But, there's a lot of opportunity for some blue bloods in, 4 or 5 seed lines. I think Illinois is dangerous. Not a fun 3 to draw. They're playing some of their best ball, at this time of year, but so is Iowa State. So I think there's a lot of interesting matchups early, but the Kentuckys of the world, the Dukes of the world, those aren't teams, with experienced staffs that you want to see in March. So I really don't have a hard time, filling this thing out at first glance, other than UConn and Houston, because I'm not sold on Purdue. North Carolina, I hate North Carolina State. I don't know how you lose to them. Five games in 5 days. I'm not sure how that even happens, but I don't know. I'm interested. It's always a fun time of year. You never know what's going to happen. I can't get myself to do it, but if you bet the 15, 14, and 13 seed lines, all money line, it's big money, like 7 out of 8 years. So
Really?
I convinced myself this year to just ship it. I saw Iowa State's 16.5 point favorite. That money line's at 1,000. So you just got to have the ball.
Speaking of that, what do you think? I know Joe Blow, who will be on here later and loves to chat about the Hawkeyes. This a potential Drake Iowa State matchup. If you're an Iowa State fan, are you worried, or is it like, okay, we got SDSU and then Drake, we're in the Sweet 16?
I reason track. I think Iowa State's going to fight. I don't think there is. It may seem interstate battles not something you want probably, but I don't think there's enough weapons to overcome the Iowa State defense outside of the Breeze. Is my first take.
I was just pissed. They don't give us much here in Iowa. We got cornfields, we have football and basketball, and that's about it. And they're going to put 2 of our only teams in the whole tournament against each other in the round of 32. I personally thought that was bullshit.
Low key, dude. I don't. If you go through Drake, Illinois, it happens, but it's not a different. UConn's. I don't. The 4th through 10, I don't get scared by too much. It's really just Illinois and UConn. So I think it'll be a pretty chalk in that area of the bracket at first glance. What do you
Nothing
guys?
Else? What?
Anything stand out in that, East region? Did you see the boys chanting "No means no" at the Illinois game today, and they were all getting yelled at by the AD?
Really?
The band, I think, was the ones chanting it. I was like, that's clever. Those boys.
Hey, I love that, actually. Obviously, there's still a lot to be pending in that, but I think they have every right to yell that. It's fishy business that the guy's on the court still. So good for the band. I like that.
I forget what game it was. Iowa State's whole student section, if you've been to a game with them full, it's a lot of fucking people, was chanting "She's a minor" at who's the guy in the Big 12 with the allegations?
Kansas
with
guy?
a 17-year-old. No, it's not Kansas. Damn it. But I couldn't figure out what they were saying forever. And finally someone told me she's a minor. And I'm like, oh fuck. I started looking up the articles, and what do you know? We got allegations out there. So shout out student sections and bands.
Yeah.
But well, Sheets, before you leave, can you give us a winner? I know you mentioned UConn and Houston. Do you have a preference over one of those two?
I think UConn's. Last year they didn't have a single digit game. I think it could be very similar this year. They've got the size, they've got the athleticism. They got a couple dudes that can absolutely wrap it. So you got everything you need there to win a natty. So.
And a fiery coach.
Who else do you have in your Final Four, Matt? Who else do you have in your Final Four?
I think UNC, obviously you want to be playing your best ball coming in. They're dangerous. Their guard play is solid. I'm not sold on Arizona. Mississippi State, Michigan State, that 8-9 game is going to be awesome. I love Mississippi State. They're just a bunch of dogs, and they're tough. And Michigan State always typically finds a way to win those games. But that's a super intriguing 8-9 game. But, Marquette just can't beat the top team in the country. They play good versus everybody else, but UConn's got them 3 times this year. So I don't really know, dude. Houston, UConn. Who we got down here? I think Kansas could make a run, just having Dickinson and Mr. Self on your side. But I mean, Creighton's dangerous again. Good coach, veteran big. That's always helpful in March. So let's go Creighton, Houston, UConn, and I think Baylor's tough too. I mean, they're playing decent ball. I mean, Iowa State got them, but those boys are starting to trend at the right time. So Baylor, there we go. UConn winning it. Houston, Creighton, and Baylor. Going big on the Big 12.
There we go. I like it. Hey, thanks for joining us, Matt.
Yes, sir. Have fun today. Catch you later.
Yeah.
See ya.
And we move on to the man who joined us not too long ago, Mr. Drew Olson.
What's going on, fellas? How we doing?
How we doing? Good to have you on, Drew.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again, fellas.
Well, what was your first reactions to the bracket?
My first reaction is I'm not entirely sure how Michigan State got a 9 seed. I think that's a really dangerous 9 seed, especially with them playing North Carolina round 2. I was on here to talk about Carolina, so obviously that's a little scary to see them round 2. I mean, and then you're probably going to get a really athletic Alabama team that's going to come out and shoot. Obviously, a lot of people are picking UConn right away. I don't know. I got a weird feeling like a Duke, Kansas, Creighton. Someone's going to make a weird run this year. We haven't seen one of those teams there in a while. So, first glance, I like those guys' matchups, and that's the main thing late in the year is maybe not who's the best team, but what's the best matchup. I know Meisner is a big fan of matchups as well. So, what were your guys' thoughts, kind of?
Go ahead, Mize.
Yeah, like you said, Michigan State. I don't think it should have been a 9 seed either. I think they should have been a 10. Probably playing
11.
the first 4. I mean, honestly, playing in
Right.
the first 4, like Boise State and Colorado State. Why are they playing the first 4? Why does Michigan State not have to do that? They slumped their way down the stretch, and
I
so
agree.
that's a tough game, like you said, to see. And even if it is Mississippi State, that's not an easy team either. But
No.
are you feeling confident in the Final Four run again for North Carolina?
For North Carolina, you got to get. I mean, it's game by game. You got to be playing your best ball right now. Obviously, ran into North Carolina State in the ACC championship. It's a team that's just playing their best ball at the end of the year. It wasn't like it was a blowout either. I mean, stuck around, hung around. I also really like Illinois' path this year for some odd reason. Out of the East region, I like Drake, Iowa State round 2. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and be a complete Homer Hawk, but I think Washington State and Drake, both 2 really good head coaches that could have their boys ready to go in the second round. South Dakota State, I can't remember. They had a decent little run at the end of the year, didn't they? They played really well in February.
8-game win streak they're coming off of.
Yeah, there you go. I was thinking they were playing well, but yeah, I mean, you run into a team that's been playing well at the end of the year, and then 2 really good coaches in the second round. I still think Iowa State will make it out of there and have a Sweet 16 team, but run into Illinois or Auburn. I mean, Auburn coming out of the other side. I don't like a lot of people like San Diego State getting back to the Sweet 16. I like Auburn coming out over there, but probably off first look, it'd be the really easy pick to go with UConn to repeat, but I got a weird feeling like a Creighton, Kentucky, Duke even. I don't know. That I feel like that South region's kind of loaded.
As we're going through this, my mind is constantly changing. To your point, I think we're going to see the opposite. I think we're going to see a Duke team fall, a KU team fall. Some of these like 3, 4, 5 teams that are usually blue bloods, Gonzaga, that are really good. I think they're all going to fall and set up for a chalky Final Four for easier pass for UConn.
What do you think about Houston, Nebraska round 2 potentially? Nebraska having a little Sweet 16 run potentially, Mize?
I don't know. I think they'll be able to hang with them, but I think Houston is just too complete, and I think they'll get shut down. I think that's a second round team. I do think they'll get by A&M though. I think A&M also should not have been a 9 seed. I think A&M should have been a first 4.
I agree.
So
I agree.
Nebraska to get by and maybe give Houston some fits. But I do think Houston will get past them. But that is another dangerous.
It's a conflict of interest right there where Nebraska wants to fill it up and Houston wants to slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
Hoiberg's a really good coach. I mean, there's another Cyclone for you, Russell. He's a really good coach. He'll have those boys ready to go if they make it to the second round.
Only coach ever to win the both Coach of the Year for Big 12 and Big 10. With that said, I think Houston would shut them down so quick. I don't think they would know what to do against a defense like that. They haven't played one all year. I think Houston handles them pretty easily.
Do you have any final thoughts, Drew? Do you have final four predictions for us before you go?
It's too early for me to fill out a bracket.
Yeah.
I'm not a first looker. I'll have to look around a little bit. I think maybe a surprise Final Four team, this would be a surprise to me anyways, would be like an Illinois making a run at it. Obviously, my heart's going to be with North Carolina as my Hawkeyes, precious Hawkeyes, did not make it. So hopefully North Carolina can make a Final Four run, give me someone to cheer for and watch. But other than that, just excited for some postseason basketball. It's the best time of the year.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure having you on as always, Drew.
Absolutely, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Yep.
See you, boys.
And following him, the great Mitch Longcore.
I am up a couple minutes early.
What does that say? Lay him on the line, Big 12. Okay.
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. How was it?
Correspondent.
How was it?
It was magical, to say the least. I walked out of there last night, out of the arena, with one thought, and that was, I'm glad we beat the absolute brakes off every team that showed up to Kansas City this weekend. And nothing makes me happier. How about you, Russell? I know you had to be feeling that same type of way up here in Des Moines.
Oh, I was in. We made our way to East Village. I was sitting in front at a table with Meisner to my left, and
nice, Mize.
Funk was there as well, and then I had Joe dug in my ear the whole time. Well, actually, just for like the first 7 minutes, so we started kicking Houston's ass, and they had nothing to say, but it was great. He was chirping at me, talking about we're going to lose first, second round. I'm just sitting there with the biggest grin on my face. I'm like, I don't give a damn. I'm winning a Big 12 championship right here. Something's going on.
Right in front of my face.
I was the happiest man in the world, and then I woke up again. I told myself this yesterday. When shit like this happens, you enjoy it the night. You go to sleep. You wake up. You're like, fuck yeah. I just remembered we're Big 12 champs. Always beat the shit out of Houston.
Can't wake up.
It was great.
No, it was even better too, hearing that the team didn't even stay in KC last night. They just, hey, back to business. We're going back up to Ames. Get on the bus. Got 20 minutes to shower, boys. We're hitting the road. Get some barbecue on the way out of town. And we're back to business tomorrow. I love that.
Word on the street is I practiced last night. They all went
after the game, probably.
Yeah, back when they got back to Ames. Yeah,
they probably weren't too tired. I mean, we had the whole squad playing.
I heard they did a HIIT workout. They went and lifted. They're ready to go. So that's just inside word from Colby Hansen, who couldn't make it tonight. But what do you think? We'll stick kind of with Iowa State with you. Obviously, you still have to go to state and then setting up for Drake. You happy with that?
And then, do you see the round after that even? I mean, potentially an Illinois matchup or BYU. I know it's a little far to look ahead, but like those are interesting matchups down the road too. I know. I think the possibility of Drake's really exciting, obviously, for the entire state of Iowa. I think it's cool. I heard you ask McAleer the question of I'm not even going to read that from Jake Beck, but I heard the word on the street, or that's his sentence. McAleer talk about how I heard McAleer talk about the possibility. Are you scared if you're Iowa State and having to face Drake? I'm not afraid. I think they're a good team, but I'd like to see them get there, and I'd just like to see a good game. Truth be told, so
I don't want to see a good game. If we play Drake, I want to beat him by 45 points. I want to be just like yesterday. I don't want any close.
I think that's a good game.
Well, I'm glad you had boots on the ground and got to experience that.
Right.
Go ahead, Miles.
I just want to say, Mitchell, thank you, by the way, for doing that for us down south and reporting on the Big 12 tournament for us. Always glad to have you working on the team. So I know you did your part down there, and we appreciate your service.
We'll send you a Stolzen candle.
I'll be taking a salary cut next year, so
Thank
be
you,
ready
Tom
for
Brady.
that.
You get the mini candles. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mitchell.
Anything else? All right. See you, boys.
See ya. Oh, Mitchell.
All right.
Who's next?
Always good seeing Mr. Longcourt. All right, we got back-to-back Schultz now.
Mr. Cam, what hat is that? And why can't I hear you? Oh, no. Where's Zoe? Get Zoe. Have her work the computer for you.
Let's see. Can you hear us? Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. Can you hear us? Let's see.
Let's start by unmuting yourself. No.
No, like, so can you try checking like your settings? Is there microphone settings? Or if you want to try from your phone too.
Bring his brother on. Bring Connor on while Cam joins on
Okay,
his
we'll
phone.
get Cam on in a second. If you want to, just join that link on your phone, and that might just work easier if there's something wrong with the computer. All right. We'll drop Cam for a second, but he'll be on in a minute. Real quick, I got this comment. You might know this. I don't know who Baldy is here.
That would be Joe Blow.
Okay. When is he coming on? He was fired up yesterday. I'm excited.
He's very fired up. He's probably a little hungover today.
He might be. Let's see. Looking at, do you have any Final Four? You think Iowa State is going to be in the Final Four, Sheets?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
If we were on any side besides UConn, then I'm maybe.
I think we got Cam back on. Let's see.
How we doing?
There we go.
That's better.
Sorry about that.
You're good.
You're good, Sheets. What were your thoughts on the bracket?
Big win for Iowa State last night, but I think they kind of got screwed with the draw. Otherwise, them playing in Omaha, I think, will be big for them. Drake matchup versus ISU in Omaha. Man, that place will be popping.
I don't know, dude. The tickets are like $950. So, well, I'm hoping. I know Drake has a very rich fan base. They're in Des Moines as well, and South Dakota State's not too far away. So they don't have as many fans, but even our home court advantage kind of went away playing those two teams.
Yeah, that's true. I think Virginia being in the tournament's just a disgrace. That team is terrible. They might score 20 points in the first half against Colorado State in that game. That'll be my first bet.
Again, have you looked at the spread already?
No, I don't care what it is. First half under Virginia. Take it.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Do you have any dark horses that you saw?
I like a lot of teams that can score points this year. Baylor, I think, with Love coming back, could be scary. Creighton, if they can get some stops, they can score with anyone. Kentucky, if they can get stops, they can score the ball too. McNeese State, I think they'll be everyone's darling, but I think they can beat Zags, and Kansas doesn't look very good with the injuries. I mean, they can make it to the Sweet 16 and get Will Wade a nice promotion.
I like Creighton too. I know Meisner, she's wearing a Creighton. Whose jersey is that, Meis?
Doug McDermott.
Dougie McBuckets. Who I want to go back to that Creighton because so they play the winner of South Carolina, Oregon. I already said South Carolina's frauds, and then they would have. Oh, now I lost it. Is Tennessee? Is that right?
Yeah, Tennessee's a good team, but I feel like Ziegler and Vescovy were way better the last few years, and then Connect comes in and he's a stud, but those two just kind of disappeared this year. I mean, I don't know if he can carry them past the Creighton team that's pretty balanced.
That would be interesting to see. I think all three of us are high on Creighton.
Yeah.
I think they're well coached. They got a couple guys that can really ball. Give me an upset that you can see happen. Maybe a 12-5 that you think is for sure happening. 14-3.
I like McNeese. I think that's going to be my favorite one. UAB, they're a really athletic team against San Diego State too. I know you guys are big Mountain West guys, and I like watching the Mountain West, but after the big run last year for that team, I could see UAB just with some athletes shutting down Ladie a little bit.
I'm with you on that. UAB, I said that earlier. I think UAB can beat San Diego State. Mines, on the other hand, is on the opposite side.
I do think it's going to be tough for San Diego State to make a run. That bracket that they're in, that especially that like region, the top half that they're in is tough. So I don't think it's going to be tough for them to make a run, but I do think they'll win that first game. But against, say they play Auburn, that's going to be really tough to get by.
Sure. I do like New Mexico. They're playing really good guard play. Nevada kind of has a home court game down there. Those teams could make a little bit of a run, but then you got Baylor down there too. I kind of like them.
If you had to pick an upset here between JMU over Wisconsin or Samford over Kansas, what 4 or 5 seed do you have more confidence in to win that game?
I'm gonna fade Kansas. Wisconsin, I don't know. They were playing really good ball, then they were terrible. But what they did in the Big Ten tournament, Store's a stud. They play good defense. That'll be a good game too, though. I don't know. I'm just not very high on Kansas, which is tough betting against Bill Self.
I think shit happens in March, and people are very high on UConn, and people are very low on Kansas. I think UConn may see an exit. I'm hoping before we play them if we get that far. I think KU is going to make a little bit of a run. I don't know why I like Bill Self. I really like them in the tournament.
Good coach.
I hate his guts when I play him, but I love him otherwise. And if Hunter Dickinson's playing and he's healthy, do you happen to know the word on McCuller?
I don't know. Just those two being banged up and injuries, if they tweak an ankle or any little, those two go out. Kansas isn't very deep, and they can't shoot the three very well to get back in games if they get down early.
That is true. Injuries are part of March. I don't know if you guys watched this morning. Some guy's leg basically snapped on live TV, and you could hear it over the volume.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was Florida. It was this Florida center. I bet on Florida today, and 3 minutes into the game, Florida's one of their best players. Their center broke his ankle, and it was really not good.
It was bad. I had to rewind it a couple times, and I watched it.
The
third. You go back and watch it on Twitter, Cam. It's not Kevin Ware, but it's not pretty.
I'll have to do that after this.
If you're into that, yeah, it's like there was like blood coming out, and yeah, I'm not into that. But if you are, yeah, you'll like that. But hey, good conversation. We're glad to have you on, and we're gonna move things along with the other show. Thanks for joining us, Cam.
Sounds good. Thanks, boys.
Hey, Cam.
See ya.
Can you guys hear me?
You can.
Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. Mine actually works. I don't know what was going on with your previous guests there, but glad we have audio and video on both sides here. Appreciate you guys kicking this off. I was on with you guys when you started. Loved your bracket, your breakdown, and shitting on the committee a little bit. I think they definitely got a few things wrong. First thing I want to say is the East. I think is the loaded region with all those teams that won their conference tournaments. A lot of the other regions, you don't have anybody that won their conference tournament. In the East, you have UConn, Auburn, Illinois, Drake, Iowa State. I mean, I don't think anywhere else has that many of the big conference tournament winners. And then I think the West region is just for me, probably my least favorite region. What do you guys have a favorite region? I didn't hear if you picked which one you loved the best or which one you were kind of not interested in looking at first off.
We did there was 2 regions that we kind of stopped. At least I did. Was like, damn, I really like this region. One of them was the South. Said at Nebraska, A&M, Wisconsin, JMU, Duke, Vermont, NC State, Tech.
Yep.
And then the other one was it was the Midwest. We kind of looked at and we're like Gonzaga, McNeese, My fat fingers get away from it. Hang on.
The East is, like you said, is just loaded. I mean, you have two Final Four teams from last year in the same region, Florida Atlantic
Right.
and San Diego State, and then, or excuse me, you have three of them too because UConn is the #1 seed and obviously
Yeah.
the national champ. So you could potentially have the national championship rematch in the Sweet 16, and then
Yeah,
a couple
your
different
top four
ways.
seeds won the conference tournaments too. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know if any other bracket at all has two teams, and that's the
think
top four seeds over there, which is kind of jumped out at me right away. I mean, obviously
This is
UConn's been good, Auburn got hot, Illinois is putting it together, Iowa State just dominated this weekend, so yeah,
this is why I
like
love you, play. You always shed light on stuff that I never would have even
yeah,
thought about. Okay, winning your conference tournament. That I've never thought about that, but that could hold some weight there. You want to play your best basketball right now, and that winning your conference tournament is a good way to show that. So
yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah, to me, the West, you have North Carolina and Arizona are your 1 and 2, who have shown that they can be explosive and play really well, but it didn't get it done this weekend. But I don't know. I think my biggest thing that I'm going back on is 2 weeks ago, I couldn't believe that Wisconsin was still projected like a 6 or 7 seed, and now they completely shut me up this weekend. So a lot of people are taking James Madison. I think Wisconsin makes Sweet 16. I think they've been scoring like they never have before. They're scoring 80 points a game now, past couple weeks. So Wisconsin's figuring it out. So I like them to beat JMU and whoever comes out of that Duke Vermont game. And then how you guys were talking about earlier, Tyler Kolek. I think I told Russell this earlier in the week that Marquette is my champion if Kolek's going. So I like their big man's versatile, and they got Cam Jones and Kolek and Joplin as well. So they got a good balanced team, like you said, with Creighton too. That Big East didn't get many teams in, but the ones that got in are tough. So, like you said, I think if Kolek's playing, it makes a difference. Otherwise, I could see them making an early exit too.
I think that's the difference of what can make that side, the South, either tough or pretty easy for Houston. Because
Yep.
I think Kentucky's a little too inconsistent. And if they have to play a Kolek Marquette, that's a lot different than a Kolek-less Marquette team. So I like it.
Yeah. So are you guys taking a stance on Kansas or not? I think Hunter Dickinson's playing and McCullough, I think they're resting up to get ready. So I think everybody's picking Samford, but I think Kansas gets by week or in the first round there. What do you guys thinking about that?
Go ahead, Mize.
I think they will. I think they will too. I mean, they have to play good. Sanford is pretty good team. I think they have close to 30 wins, but I do see Kansas winning that game. It might be, maybe a single digit game, but I don't think that's an upset there. And I think it's like you said, it's a game a lot of people think will happen. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think KU meets Purdue in that Sweet 16, and I don't know what did you say about McCullough? He's done for the year?
No, I think he'll play.
Oh, okay. If he's playing,
I don't think there's
healthy,
clarity on if he's playing or not, but I think he'll play.
If KU has McCullough and Dickinson going into that Sweet 16 team against Purdue, I like KU over Purdue.
Yeah, I think they're going to be playing, but I don't think they're going to be, the Kansas that we had the first couple weeks of the year where we watched them get upset in Hilton and we thought it was massive. But I think actually McNeese goes to the Sweet 16 and matches up against Purdue. I think Purdue makes a run to the Final Four. But McNeese, Shahada Wells, 27 points the last 2 games. He's balling. McNeese plays a fun brand of basketball. I think they can make a run. But Purdue also, everybody's been saying, they can't win with Edey. They got upset at 16. It's not happening this year. I really like their route, especially if Kansas gets taken out in one of those first 2 rounds. Obviously, they didn't get it done in the Big Ten, but they are shooting 40% from 3 this year. They shot 30% last year when they got knocked off. So I think they have another piece with Lance Jones. So I think Purdue can live up to the hype this year at the tournament.
Always spreading knowledge.
So I'm gonna leave you with my
Absolutely.
final 4 teams.
Okay, what do you got for Final Four?
So like I said, I had Marquette. Kolek's healthy, subject to change if we get any news on him. Purdue, Baylor, and Illinois. Illinois playing hot, and Baylor with guards that can score. And I think they're going to be a streaky team. Like I said, that West region is kind of for me. So Baylor was the first team that I saw that jumped out at me. So that's my Final Four.
I like it.
I do like that a lot. I do like that Final Four a lot. Usually people just go 1 and 2s, and like you said, you have Illinois in there, and then Baylor, like you said, I think is just honestly might be the best team in that region. So
yeah, I know. Yeah, that West region's definitely but yeah, obviously UConn's been the number one team majority of the year with all the pieces that they have playing balance, but it's March, anything can happen. Really tough to repeat, so we'll see what happens. I'm ready for March.
Yes, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Yep, thanks for having me. You guys are doing great. See you later.
Thank you. Good
See
seeing
ya,
you.
play it.
All right. And then, hey, we got a comment here. Before we get to our next guest, we got a good comment here. New listener here from Parker Shank says, can we talk about how the conference tournaments evidently don't matter for the top 8 teams in the country? The top 2 seeds, like you said, had to have been set in concrete on Friday. He's absolutely right. I mean, the performance that Iowa State put on yesterday was maybe the performance of the year, any team, any game, all season long. And it didn't seem to move the needle really anywhere. I mean, and they're still not even the number 1 2 seed. So good comment here from Parker. I agree with you totally. I think there was a lot of holes in this bracket. I only hit on the teams who were kind of at the end of the bracket. The top 2 seeds, you could make a lot of arguments about this too. So good comment there. I'm in agreement. What do you think?
I'm 100% in agreement. I think if you ask Buzz William that same question from last year in that Texas A&M team that made it to the championship and lost by like a couple points and got left out. We've seen it year in, year out. It's going to continue to be that way as long as it's the same committee. Your conference tournament just does not hold as much weight as your regular season. And that's what it comes down to. That's the unfortunate. It should, but it doesn't.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Parker. Thanks for the comment. That, like you said, he hit the nail right on the head there. Committee, I thought, had a lot of holes in the overall bracket in general. So let's move along to our next guest. We have a fellow Blue Jay fan on here. Thanks for joining us. And what are your thoughts on the Blue Jays getting back in the tournament? Good seed. Do you think they make another run?
I think they do. I think they got a really favorable draw, honestly. Obviously, it looks like probably in the Sweet 16 they run into Tennessee, who obviously we know Dalton Connect has been crazy all year, and they've been great on defense. But, the Blue Jays have played – they obviously lost earlier than they would have liked to in the Big East tournament, but I think that Providence team is tough. I think the Big East is just a tough brand of basketball in general, so I think a little bit of rest will do them good. I like the draw. It looks like maybe they can catch Virginia second round, and then like I said, that Tennessee game could be tough, but I think Creighton plays and moves the ball well enough, and as long as they're shooting well, I think honestly they stack up against anyone in the country.
Yeah, I'm very high on Creighton. You're also a massive Big Ten fan, correct?
Correct, big Iowa guy, but can't come on here and cock off about Iowa because we're going to be watching from home this year.
The NIT selection show, I believe, starts in like 7 minutes, so you can probably tune into that.
I got to get my info out here and then get on and see where they're going to play.
Yeah,
we've heard a couple people, Big Ten fans, mention Illinois possibly in the Final Four. I don't think they can do it. I don't think Wisconsin is as good as people think. That may be my Big 12 bias, but are you, as a Big Ten lover, seeing Purdue in there and then a possibility of Illinois or Wisconsin?
I do. I think this Purdue team, people have said it for how many years in a row now, but I think this Purdue team is sound enough to where they don't, the scars of the past maybe will help this team fight for it. I think they have a little more age. They're young in some spots, but they're a little more mature. And then you mentioned Illinois. I mean, Terrence Shannon Jr. is just playing like a freak right now. I mean, he's got 75 points in the last 2 games. I mean, he's just a monster. And if he can continue that, I mean, in March, if a player's hot like that, you really can ride him. So, I mean, unless someone stops him, I agree that I don't see a quick end for Illinois.
Wow. Terrence Jr., Texas Tech transfer, correct?
Yes.
Is he the one with allegations that just kind of got swept under the rug?
Yeah, and I don't even know that they got swept under the rug. I'm pretty sure he just did some kind of injunction where he told Illinois, hey, I'm not guilty yet, so you can't kick me off the team, which I think he'll probably, it sounds like, maybe still be found guilty at some point, and it's just kind of like delaying the inevitable, which I don't know how I feel about him playing currently, but the
Well,
guy's
we
going
know
to
where
play
we
for
know where the
Illinois.
Big Ten stands on
Yeah.
where he should be playing or not. Give me a dark horse. Give me someone. Maybe someone hasn't mentioned them yet, or maybe you just saw someone on the bracket and you're like, damn, they kind of have a path that's not one of the 1 seeds.
I think Connor actually or Playa mentioned that West is just kind of eh. I think, and it's crazy they haven't been playing as good in the past couple of weeks as they normally do in March. But I would never count Izzo out, and with that West just kind of being eh, you could see Michigan State win a couple games here. I wouldn't be surprised at all, just with Izzo. But I'm not backing them by any means. I'm just saying out of that West.
I agree. I think you're looking at the weakest region there with UNC and Arizona being your top 2 seeds.
Absolutely. UNC to me is a liability. They could lose. They could lose the first weekend, and I wouldn't be surprised. They're a sound basketball team, but they've just dropped some horrible games this year.
Armando Bacot isn't the best to look at as far as watching for any women watching this show. Maybe not watch North Carolina. You're a betting man too. Have you placed any bets?
I haven't yet, but I made the back in Creighton call a couple nights ago with you guys, and I see their draw. I think there's value in Creighton at 25-1. I think there's a world where they squeak past Tennessee, and then all of a sudden they're looking down the barrel at Purdue. I think Kalkbrenner matches up well with Edey, arguably better than anyone in the bracket, I would say. Kind of tall and lengthy. I think he can bother Edey with Edey's little hook shot in the paint. I think he's tall enough. Could Edey push him around? Sure. But, I think there's a really real world for Creighton where all of a sudden we're like, oh, wow, there they are in the Elite Eight and into the Final Four. And that's really all the further you got to get to win 1 or 2 games in a row. At 25-1, I think there's value on Creighton.
If you're a 16 seed playing Purdue, if I was coaching, I would literally tell my team to every possession, the first 10 possessions, we're driving at Edey. We're going to try and get 2 quick fouls on him super early. I don't know why you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I think that Edey's I think people have tried that against Edey. I think Edey's a smart enough player to know that that's going to happen, and I think Matt Painter knows that, and I think they try to protect Edey and kind of build down in the paint. And you're right, and there could be that's the recipe for success. There could be a game where Edey has 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes, and all of a sudden he doesn't play for the rest of the first half, and Purdue finds himself down at halftime to a team. You're like, here we are again with Matt Painter and his 7-foot big man getting knocked out in the first 2 weekends. So that definitely would not surprise me either.
Yeah, that's why I'm afraid and hesitant to throw money on Purdue for that simple fact alone.
And I was just listening to you guys talk about Iowa State. This Houston team, I've listened to people talk about them and say, hey, look, they're killer on defense, but that offense, when that offense doesn't show up, it's bad. We saw that obviously last night in the nth degree. I wouldn't be surprised if this Houston team gets knocked out early. Just, they get their cages rattled by Iowa State last night, lose a little confidence. The offense isn't rolling. It's pretty stagnant. I wouldn't be surprised to see them be one of the first 1 seeds gone.
It's first time that takes came out on this podcast. I like it.
I mean, they did show that offense showed yesterday that they're capable of just not scoring in bunches, and it got really, really bad, like you said. Like to the point where you said it could rattle them a little bit, which is something you usually don't see from Houston. Usually they're the team that's like locked in, ready to go. So that's going to be interesting to see how they respond. Would still like to back Kelvin Sampson, but that was pretty jarring. I don't know.
I just think they find themselves in trouble when they don't have Cryer filling it up and guys aren't making jump shots. They just, like we said last night, you saw it. It can rear its ugly head at any time, but defense travels, and they also could be on the flip side of the Iowa State game and find themselves in the Elite Eight by letting teams score less than 40 points, and I wouldn't be surprised at that either. So,
yeah.
All right. Hey, great analysis. Thanks for joining us there. Great. That was a great segment there. Way to fill it up.
Thank you guys for having me. Killing
Absolutely.
Thanks, Taylor.
it. Good boys.
See ya.
Get Baldy on the show, damn it.
And this was a comment here from our Kansas insider. It doesn't look good. I don't. Sounds like for Kevin McCullough. They're gonna see how much he can do tomorrow.
I just figured out who Jody Wagner is. I got.
Oh,
Now I'm aware.
And let's see. Let's move on here. Oh, this will be it. This will be a treat here. Let's go.
Let's go Bulldogs! Iowa State's going down.
You already sent the text into our group chat. That what were your exact words?
Blowout.
Drake is going to blow out Iowa State. Is this what you wanted as a Drake fan?
Yeah, of course. I do agree with your take. It kind of sucks for the state that they have it set up that way. I mean, Drake's first round matchup isn't easy. Washington State's a really, really good team, and they haven't made the tournament in probably since Klay Thompson was there. They have that really good freshman guard who had cancer, I think, last year. Now he was pretty sure first team All Pac-12, and they swept Arizona, so they can really, really play. And I think they'll present some issues with from the guard perspective, getting downhill against Drake's guards. Connor Enright's a little meh, but if DeVries gets going, they're really hard to beat. So I think they'll beat Washington State, and then I agree. It kind of sucks for the state to have that matchup right away in the second round, but it'll be fun. The bars will be popping here in Des Moines for sure if that happens.
So that'll be on the Saturday of Hoops and Hops if that game sets up.
Yeah.
I don't
think we'll be able to watch it together. I would maybe kill you.
Nope. So here's my dilemma, Joe. Because any other year, I would 100% cheer for Drake, no matter who the fuck they were playing.
Yeah.
I cannot handle you and other Iowa fans if Drake beats Iowa State. So consequently, I'm cheering for Washington State to beat Drake because I can handle that. If we lose Washington State, fine. If we lose to Drake, I'm never going to hear the end of it. So I will be cheering for Washington State and that Pac-12 team to beat Drake on a last-second buzzer beater.
I'm surprised. I'm honestly surprised the committee did that. I feel like they don't really put, unless they're like bigger blue blood schools. But I was a little surprised to see that. What do you think about that, Meisner?
I didn't like that either. Like you said, I guess you can spin it. Or it's going to be a cool second round game, but I don't think it's good for the state. I think you wanted both of those teams because both those teams are very capable of going on a run this year, and then it's like, oh, they play each other right away. I don't know. I guess you could think it's cool that they have a potential to play each other, but I don't personally like it either.
Yeah.
As a Drake fan and student, are you happy or sad to see Indiana State not get in?
I'm kind of a Power 5 guy. I like to fight for the Power 5s, but I think Indiana State should have been in. I mean, they're net 28. I think they're they have the best net of any team that's ever missed a tournament since the net was started. So I don't know. I think they kind of got screwed, and Robbie Avila is an awesome watch, so that would have been fun to see. But I don't know. The committee really screwed Indiana State and the Big East. I was really surprised to see Seton Hall or St. John's or Providence. That was surprising.
I'm guessing your Final Four is Illinois, Michigan State, Purdue.
Yeah.
And who would be the other one?
Nebraska, baby. K-State.
Nebraska. All right. So that's your Final Four?
No. I do think Kentucky is going to get out of the South region. I kind of agree with what Taylor said about Houston. Their defense travels, but man, when they don't score, it is ugly. And obviously Iowa State's a great defensive team, but if they're not hitting outside shots, it gets ugly quick. So I like Kentucky out of there. I'm really torn on Purdue in the Midwest. I actually think the Midwest is a really fun region. You guys have talked a lot about the East, but I totally agree with the Creighton takes. Tennessee's awesome. Dalton Connect's a cold-ass white boy. So they're a fun team to watch. So I think I'll probably take Purdue out of the Midwest. That's what I have now, but I would maybe flip to Tennessee there. And then out of the West, I agree. The West is kind of a meh region. I like North Carolina. I took North Carolina. I have a future on them, 22-1 to win it all. So that's kind of just a betting hope there. And then UConn out of the East. You guys have talked about the East a lot. We don't get too much into that. That's obviously an awesome region. And then I think UConn will repeat. So I think we got our first repeat champions in Florida.
And No Big 12 teams past the Sweet 16.
That may be true. Let me look here. No, I may flip to Baylor down there in the West. I think Baylor's really, really good. They couldn't make a shot on, what was it, Friday night against Iowa State, but when they're scoring it, Bridges can really shoot it, and Jacoby Walter, when he gets going, they're really fun to watch and a good team. So I think they could make a run. That West region's weak, man. I think Arizona's not a threat at all. I could see them losing early for sure, like last year. They're big on the front line, and Caleb Love's fun, but I don't know. I think Arizona's way overrated. In my mind, they should be like a 3 or a 4 seed. I think the Pac-12 is super weak, and they didn't really beat anybody that great this year. So I don't know. It should be fun. March the best time of the year, and if we get that Drake Iowa State matchup, I will certainly be absolutely hammered watching that game, cheering against Iowa State. So I'm looking forward to it.
We will not be together for that one, Chase. I will find you after the game.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Joe. I'm cheering for that too. And in that case, I would also be cheering for the Bulldogs. So let's hope that happens. I think it will too. And I think the Bulldogs will win. So
yeah, that's great. All right. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. You're doing a great job. And March is the best time of the year, baby.
Absolutely.
Text me any of your locks.
All right, guys. See you later.
See ya. All right. And we are moving along here. Let's see. We got
Broden
Coulter.
Build.
What's up, Cucks?
Looking like a penis head, as usual. Indiana State, Stan.
Yeah, they got hosed. They got hosed. Virginia sucks.
Hose or hosed?
What?
Do they have hose or do they have did they get hosed?
You're asking the wrong guy. They got hosed though in the tournament by the committee.
Who would you take out?
I'm booting in Virginia the fuck out of town. 19-14 and Michigan State.
Really?
Michigan State should not be in. Also, I've been saying for months, Houston frauds.
We've had a lot of the last 3 guests have been off on Houston. I've
been on since I went to the game.
I will say, Sheets, last year they played in I won't say very shitty conference, not a great conference. And when they get blown out early in the March, this year they played a battle-tested schedule in the Big 12. They played a tournament team every single week since January, as did Iowa State. I think they are going to get, if there's any year that they're going to get it done, it's going to be this one.
I mean, it could go both ways. What I saw when I was at the game early January or mid-January, I came out of that game thinking that team is going to get bounced early because if they can't score, they're fucked. And that's exactly what happened last night.
Who'd they play in that game you went to?
Texas. In Austin.
And they lost?
They won by like 2 in overtime.
Oh, what are we talking about then, Sheets? If they won,
Texas is not very good.
Okay, so we're gonna put them down because they beat a Texas team and because they played the second best defense in the nation in the other game.
They were the number 1 team at that time. They couldn't go into Austin on a Tuesday night and win in regulation.
You know how many teams could go into any Big 12 arena and just get an easy win like that? Not many. And I think, again, they played the second best defense in the nation yesterday. They didn't put up points. They struggled to score. That's because of who they played. They weren't playing Drake. They weren't playing you and I, not Vermont.
Did you hear what I said?
The Iowa State Cyclones.
Oh, my God. Your Big 12 bias is fucking oozing right now.
No.
No.
I'm just saying. I disagree with the
past
couple
you said
guests.
the same thing
I think
last
Houston,
year. They're good.
I think Houston go far. They are good.
They're no different than they were last year. They just play a different conference.
False. That makes it way different.
They are no different than they were last year.
I'll put a bet. We'll do a live bet here right now. I bet they make the Final Four.
Let me go look at the region quick.
Oh, but they're not good. They're not good, Cheats. You shouldn't have to look at the region.
When did I say they weren't good?
Make the bet with me right now. $10.
Okay. Fucking
All
Trump's
right,
money.
deal.
Vizzy pay.
Is that Nick Mullins?
Who are your
Can you see
upsets? Who are your upsets right away before I get booted out of here?
Mine's not let you start.
Real quick. I was all year long. I'm like, you know what? Duke is gonna get upset by somebody. I'm waiting for the matchup. Bing, the matchup comes out. Vermont. I like Vermont to hang with Duke and possibly beat them. And then taking a look, I don't think there's gonna be a ton of upsets. I think Wisconsin will take care of JMU, but I do kind of like McNeese maybe over
Oh,
Gonzaga.
really?
That one's gonna be tight. But I think
I like that one.
my big one is my big one is that Duke goes down to Vermont.
Really? That one did not poke out at me like the McNeese and James Madison one did.
It's not as popular for sure. That's why I don't want to go with the trendy one. Like the trendiest one is going to be James Madison. I think Wisconsin wins. But.
Yeah, those 512s are just too popular, but those ones are Gonzaga and Wisconsin both are just so mid from what they're used to or what they usually are. It's just and those are two really good 12 seeds.
I'm on the. If I had to pick one, I would choose New Mexico over Clemson.
Oh yes,
11-6.
I forgot about that one.
Oh yeah.
And we're talking about trendy upsets. It's maybe not a first round upset, but I think the national trendy upset may be Drake over Iowa State. I think a lot of people think Iowa State's fraud, and a lot of people think Drake's really good. I bet there's a lot of people out there that think Drake, and it very well could happen.
Yeah,
that Drake beats
especially
Iowa
if
State.
DeVries gets going, they're fucking good.
Why can't we see you, Sheets?
Oh, I was looking at my bracket. Sorry.
Did you already fill it out?
Not yet.
Who's your winner?
I don't know. UConn's the trendy one to repeat. It's hard to go against them. I think Tennessee could do it. I don't know. I'm stuck between UConn and Tennessee. They're just. I mean, I know Tennessee had a couple losses down the stretch, but they're legit.
They're good. I don't mind.
It's going to be
Tennessee at
hard for
all.
me to go. I also think Kansas could get bounced pretty early too.
Yeah, that's also trendy. I'm on the opposite side of that.
Really, they don't have Dick Fuck Dickinson playing anymore. They're frauds.
Yes, they
Johnny
do.
Furphy.
Yes, they do.
He's back? I thought he was still
back.
hurt.
He's back, and Jody Wagner just told us McCullough is maybe questionable, but Dickinson's back. He's healthy.
Jody Wagner, Kansas insider, Kansas dick sucker.
Yeah. I think he celebrated St. Pat's Day too for his own purpose.
Oh,
Jody Wagner. Meisner, you haven't said well, we'll get to that at the end.
yeah, he did. He said, it's title picks.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Well,
But-
obviously, I don't like to do the trendy picks, but I mean, it's not like Joe just said. It's not super trendy. We haven't had a repeat champ since Florida, and that was like 07,
yeah.
maybe.
Close.
06,
Yep.
07. So it's not like that super trendy to pick UConn again. So I mean, I didn't want to pick them because I didn't think they were the best team, but I think they have the easiest path. I mean, UNC could get picked out easily by Michigan State or even Mississippi State. Houston, like you said, just got shellacked and now has to face maybe Nebraska in the second round. And then they also have teams like Duke, Florida, who's I think is hot, and then Marquette, who I think people were sleeping on. And so I think I'd probably go with UConn. Just again, I haven't filled a bracket yet either. We kind of we saw the bracket, we kind of started. So, but I think that's a smart pick, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. All right, boys. I won't hold it up so we get too far behind.
Appreciate you coming on.
Sheets.
Thanks for having me on. See ya.
See ya. All right then, and then also by the way, JJ will be joining us later. I know we missed him, but I think he will be joining us in a little bit. I just sent him the link,
Perfect.
so we'll add him to the queue at some point. But next to the line is Josh Nichols, who's on the road. I think he just witnessed a big game today. So tell us what you saw today, Nichols.
What's up? Yeah, on the way back from Minneapolis right now. Heck of a game up there today. I think Illinois showed they're really impressive and very capable of making a deep run. I know we're here to talk about this Iowa State Drake matchup, as I'm one of your Drake guys, but I'm also your most knowledgeable Carolina guy. So I think there's some interesting matchups that people aren't necessarily talking about, teams making runs. One thing that interests me in this bracket is there's a lot of parity, personal matchups. Just look at the Drake Iowa State pod. Not even mentioning the fact that Drake and Iowa State could have a Big Four rivalry matchup. Drake's backup for DeVries, Carlos Rosario, transferred in from Washington State this year. One of Washington State's guards, he's been hurt all year, so he hasn't really played. Joe Yesufu, Drake's hero in 2021. He's at Washington State now. And then you look at Iowa State, TJ Otzelberger was at South Dakota State 4 or 5 years ago. So a lot of really interesting matchups there. And then obviously, if ones and twos all advance, you could see Carolina versus Caleb Love in the Elite Eight.
You're the first person we've had have Carolina making a deep run. But besides Iowa State and Drake, because we've touched on that a lot, we obviously know you're very knowledgeable and big Drake fan. Any Indiana State, I want to know your answer on them. Did they get fucked, or should they be in, or what?
I think they should be in. Broden discredited himself saying Michigan State. They played earlier in the year. Michigan State won that game. So, yeah, they're in easily over Indiana State. Sorry, Broden, but that was a little brother remark from you. I don't like Virginia being in over them, and the NCAA made their net rankings to avoid situations like this, and then completely fucked Indiana State out of the tournament. I think Avila would have been an NCAA tournament star. He's one of those guys that he's going to garner a lot of attention from the national media and just fans of college basketball. So I think they should have been in, but any other year they are in. But this bubble was historically good, and I think we're going to have a very fun NCAA tournament. And even though teams are opting out, quite possibly the greatest NIT of all time.
Why is that?
He's
just
right.
a lot of good teams in the NIT.
Yeah, it's gonna be loaded. Go ahead.
No, I'm very glad you're into basketball. You like the NIT. I like that. I'm personally not.
I'm usually not an NIT guy at all, but Nichols is right. The NIT is going to be damn good this year. I'm not just saying that because the Hawks will be in it, but they will. They'll be one of the marquee teams in it. But you're looking at Indiana State.
I don't like the NIT in any way, shape, or form. But it's going to be the best basketball it's had in quite possibly the history of the event.
I might throw a future on Indiana State to win the NIT.
I would have had Patino, but St. John's won't be playing.
Oh, they did opt out?
They did opt out, yeah.
Wow, that's surprising.
Yeah, but I think this tournament's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, everyone's really mentioned UConn as the trendy pick, and you can't really say they're not because they're damn good. But it's March. It's really hard to win 6 in a row, and it's really hard to go back-to-back. But I think they got actually a pretty tough draw for what they had. Looking at the 1 seeds, I think Carolina got a tough draw. Obviously, the Mississippi State-Michigan State 8-9 matchup is scary because I think everyone's writing off Mississippi State, but they shouldn't. Obviously, Izzo's scary, and I will pick Michigan State, but Mississippi State is more than capable of winning 2 to 3 games in the tournament. Like, they're athletic, they play defense, and if they start scoring, they're going to be hard to beat.
Is that what you got? I like your analysis there. You got any other dark horses besides maybe some? We talked about a lot of upsets and people are. But
I know you had said you're kind of more pro Kansas than most people, and I think if they get healthy, yeah, they can beat anybody. They can make a run. They've got a very talented roster, but this is the most vulnerable Kansas has ever been, and Samford's a good team. I'm not saying Samford's going to beat Kansas, but that's one to keep an eye on. That could be your potential bracket spoiler where you have McNeese versus Samford in the round of 32, a 12-13 game. We see it once every 4 or 5 years. That could be the one that happens this year. I also do think Duke is vulnerable. I hate them. They're dirty. God is not going to let a team that's dirty and arrogant and entitled like that go all the way. Filipowski's a bitch. Grade A. Shire started on third base with nobody out and the best hitters in the game due up and hasn't done anything. He's lost the program, and yeah, Duke. I don't think Duke really has a chance of winning it all. I mean, they should beat Vermont. They're better than them, but that's a potential upset as well.
I love the Duke hatred. Fuck Filipowski for trying to trip that guy last week. What is it with Duke?
And then his post-game interview, he's like, yeah, I didn't try to trip him. I was just trying to get up, and then next thing I know, he's on the ground. I don't really know what happened. Shut the fuck up, dude.
And then he's doing windmill dunks in the next game.
I love it.
Real quick before you go, Nichols. So you kind of mentioned it. Mississippi State's talented. Obviously, you're a big Izzo guy, but you also do have an affinity for North Carolina. So where do you stand on North Carolina's chances there? Because you just mentioned how good you like Mississippi State, and I know you love Izzo. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a weird little pod right there, and I think there's. I mean, obviously the 16 seed, they're not going to do anything there. I don't think Carolina's vulnerable to get beat by them. But if Carolina plays their game and takes care of business, they're as good as anyone in the country. They lost to UConn by, I want to say, like 9 or 10 earlier in the year, but they've beaten some good teams. Kentucky, they played them. So Carolina's battle tested. The ACC was down this year, but they did sweep Duke, made it to the ACC title game. They should get to the Sweet 16 out of there. But, I mean, I'm not going to be surprised at any results of that pod.
All right, Nichols, you got Drake in there too. What do you think the Bulldogs' chances? I know you like them as well. What do you think Drake's chances are in that Washington State game? Because I know you know as well as I do, Washington State is well coached, good team in the Pac-12. That's going to be a tough one. But then possibly playing Iowa State. What do you think Drake's chances are of potentially winning the first game and then maybe even beating the Cyclones?
I think Drake's more than capable of winning the first game. Obviously, it's March. You got to come out, play your best game. Washington State's underappreciated. The Pac-12 hasn't really been up to standard usually. You know, no UCLA, no USC. But Arizona's a good team. I think Drake should win that game. They've got the talent to do it, obviously. Darren DeVries is a great coach. Tucker DeVries, great player. But Drake's got some dudes. Darnell Brody, he played well last year in March against Miami. I like Drake to get to that round of 32. The round of 32 game there is going to be interesting because as much as I don't like Iowa State, they're legit. And that's not going to be just a game that Drake can go in and just ride momentum and win that game. They're going to have to play well. Both of those teams, that's going to be a war. Obviously, I'm going to be cheering for Drake to win that game. But, I mean, Iowa State's really good. So, I mean, Iowa State's a team you could see go all the way to the Final Four. I don't think they will because every once in a while they will get in that lull where they're not scoring it as efficiently. But they play great defense, and they're going to be hard to beat. That's not a game that Drake's just going to be able to walk into and just have all this fan support and win the game. But I do think that's a game that they will get up for because that's a Big Four game. They don't play the Big Four Classic anymore, and I'm excited to see that get to that in the first round because I'd love to see a Drake Iowa State game.
Night game Thursday. 9 o'clock tip off.
I would say I hadn't looked at timings of what games were when yet. Obviously, we were trying to get out of Minneapolis during the selection show, so we knew what matchups were what and where games were taking place, but I hadn't looked at times yet or if they were Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday.
Drake, Thursday night. It'll be a great night game. End of the first day.
That'll be fun. Yeah, I've got a Spanish exam Friday morning, so I better get my studying done because I'm going to be emotional Thursday night watching that game.
Yeah,
Get that,
you better
get
get your
studying
study
done early.
But, yeah, well, obviously I don't want to get you guys too behind. I've digressed a little bit, but keep doing what you guys are doing. You know, you guys are doing a hell of a job on here, and really looking forward to seeing how this bracket unfolds.
Thanks, Nichols.
Absolutely. It's always it's a pleasure having you on, Josh. Again, thank you to all of our correspondents this weekend. We had boots on the ground at the Big 12 tournament, Josh Nichols at the Big 10 championship game today, and then our next guest actually was Scout in the Summit League. So we got boots on the ground everywhere. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
What's up, fellas? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can, Mr. Jackrabbit.
What's up, Sheets?
You're excited for this game. That was the best draw an Iowa fan could see, I assume.
I am very excited. I mean, I think Iowa State will roll them, but it's going to be really fun to watch just because TJ Alsberger came from South Dakota State, and I mean they're a good team, but they are undersized. It'll be a good matchup. I will say this though. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just think Iowa State's draw is horrible. Yeah, they get Omaha, which is cool. But it almost makes me think that the committee made this bracket a week ago. I don't think they even updated it after the conference tournaments. Hardly. I think all they updated was the bubble teams, and I think they had a lot of teams already set because it would have been a lot of work to reset Iowa State as a 1 seed and kind of reconfigure it all. It isn't right. I mean, what is there? There's 4 conference champs in the East.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not right. So, as an Iowa State fan, I would be mad because I think one of the matchups that I'm looking forward to most would be if they meet up with Illinois. I think that would be an awesome matchup.
I am more scared of Drake than I am Illinois.
Drake's really good, but come on. Drake's not going to beat Iowa State.
Well, they can definitely beat Iowa State. In March, these lower conference teams have success sometimes, and I don't know.
The one thing that does suck is like all those guys are going to have a chip on their shoulder because it's the team in Ames, 30 minutes away.
Yeah,
that does suck. And there's going to be a lot of Drake fans there too.
There may be a shit ton of Iowa fans there cheering on Drake.
Yeah. But I mean, Iowa State should handle Drake from what I've seen.
I think Drake's going to have a tough matchup in that first round game. I don't even know if they're going to win that game, which sucks because I'm high on them.
Yeah, and that's another thing. They could kind of even be looking ahead, like, oh, we could play Iowa State, and they could shit the bed against Washington State too. So
that's my dream. That's my dream. Let's get into the Jackrabbits since you are the inside. So we've got Matt Mims, your good buddy, playing point guard, right? And you told me he's mainly like a defensive guy.
He's off guard, so their point guard is their best player. I don't want to give you the full scouting report because I don't know who you're going to talk to, but Zeke Mayo, Conference Player of the Year, he's a dog. I think. And
that's the guard?
He's their point guard, yeah, number 2. He's a junior. There's a good chance that he could be transferring out after the year just because of how good of a season he's had. So it's going to be interesting. Zeke Mayo is really good.
Who's going to be guarding Bobby Jones is what I want to know. Do they have a guy that can guard Bobby Jones?
Yeah. You know Luke Apple, right?
Is that who's guarding Bobby?
So it'll probably be William Kyle, who's an athletic freak. He's like 6'8", 6'9", and then Luke Apple will probably guard Trey King, I would think.
Oh, no. I like Luke a lot, but Trey King, he's going to thug him down in the paint all night. I mean, oh, man.
I'm just going to love watching that game. I mean, obviously, I think they opened up as a 16.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many goddamn Cyclone fans there, so it should be a good environment.
Are you going to the game?
No, but now I kind of want to. I might call the Jackrabbits ticket office and see what they got.
Yeah, you might have to text Mims, see if you can get a couple tickets.
But then, I mean, I'm a big Mountain West guy. Really happy to see 6 teams make it from the Mountain West, which is pretty surprising, honestly. I mean, a lot of them don't have great paths. Maybe one of them could make the Sweet 16. Obviously, New Mexico, they're going to be a really trendy upset pick. But then they would have Baylor probably in the second round, which is a really tough matchup for them. So that'll be interesting.
What was we kind of went through earlier and did our upsets. Did you look at any like, yep, that's an 11-6 upset. That's 12-5 upset.
So I haven't looked at it too much. One upset that I do think is going to happen. TCU is going to beat Purdue in the round of 32. I think they match up. They have good bigs, but I think their guards are better than what Purdue has, and I think they could really give them fits because they get up. TCU gets up and down the court. I've watched them a lot this year. They're really fun, and they have like 10 legit players. I think they can beat Purdue. And I also think Purdue's, every year they do the same shit.
You did say that.
But with that, my hot take was the SEC is going to be the best. They're going to just own March. Look at Tennessee's path. It's incredible. I think they're a lock for the Final Four. which I'm pumped about. Kentucky has a good path too, so it'll be interesting.
Oh, we were talking yesterday, and you said that you saw a team, any team that had not made, who had gone out in the quarterfinals, didn't make the semifinals in a conference tournament, had never won the national title. I forget which were those teams again.
So Tennessee was one of those teams. So yeah, I think it was like
okay.
the last team to win. There hasn't been a team since the merger, like in 1986. If they haven't made at least their conference tournament semifinals, they haven't won the national title.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see if that holds true. But looking more at this, it seems like the committee. This is kind of my rigged brain a little bit.
Yeah.
It looks like they're kind of setting up a lot of storylines. So if you look down in the West, North Carolina is the 1 seed, Arizona is the 2 seed. You could get a potential Caleb Love rematch versus his old team, which would be really cool. San Diego State up top. I mean, they have a tough path to get there, but they could play UConn. That was the national championship last year. That would be in the Sweet 16. That would be interesting. And then obviously Nichols said it. The TJ Otzelberger, the coach now at Iowa State, came from South Dakota State. So that's another kind of storyline. And then obviously the Iowa school is playing each other. I don't know. There's some bubble teams.
Seems like the NFL a little bit.
I mean, yeah, if you dive into it, there's some weird storylines going on.
Quick, I just went to ESPN and looked up the percentage of brackets. 5.4% of brackets have Iowa State winning it all right now. That's way higher than I ever would have imagined.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
that I will not be choosing that. But
with them annihilating Houston, I think that's going to get so many people from the public hammering Iowa State to win it all.
Yeah, and let's be honest. There's millions and millions and millions of people who fill out a bracket that have watched no more than 1 hour of basketball this year.
Dude, they have to play UConn. That's like the worst. I mean, they're the best team in the nation by far.
Maybe.
I'm just saying, if they want to make the national title game, that'd be in the Elite Eight. Yeah, that's tough. That's really
can't
tough.
get into the Final Four unless we get past UConn, which also I know I mentioned we had to play South Dakota State and Drake that I didn't like, but I don't like being on UConn's side whatsoever because that's the toughest team.
I mean, yeah, you would rather take anyone over that. That's tough.
That's really the reason why I wanted a 1 seed is because I did not want to have to play UConn until the Final Four. If God willing, we make it that far, but obviously that's changed.
And did you say with Nichols that first Iowa State game's at 9:00?
Drake is at 9.
Oh, Drake.
Iowa State is at 6:35, which is perfect. I'll get off work a little bit before, have time to settle in, get my TV ready.
You're going to be worked up.
Oh yeah, this is probably the worst month for my mental stress and stress on my heart because every March Madness I'm all in, balls to the wall in Iowa State, and they never make it easy on me ever.
Well, yeah, imagine me, dude. My team's #1 seed in the women's bracket, bro.
Yeah, which
I'm gonna be stressed. I'm gonna be stressed out.
So you two want to re-answer that question and see if you have the same? Are you taking a women's national championship or a men's Sweet 16?
I'm taking a men's Sweet 16, dude.
Nothing's changed. All right.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
But I think there's good. I mean, I'm excited to see this NIT bracket too. I know that sounds lame as hell, but I'm excited. But I would say
it's going to be loaded. Finish your thought.
Who for you guys is the biggest shock that didn't make the tournament?
Indiana State.
See, I'm happy they're not in it.
What?
My biggest shock was Providence, dude. I don't know how Providence isn't in the tourney. But I don't know. I thought they were pretty solid.
Go ahead, Miles.
Well, like you said, the committee fucking half-assed this whole thing. Like you said, did they up and like one of our commenters said earlier, did they do any updating at all? I think they just had, like you said, they just had an idea what this bracket was going to be, and they tweaked a little bit of things as they went on. But I think they just fucking sat back and relaxed their ass off. I don't think they did any deep diving or anything.
No, I think they just had spots for the bubble teams and kind of just filled them, and then they went from that. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't seem right because there's no way Iowa State's the worst 2 seed.
How it doesn't make any sense, and it should. Tournament games should matter. You're playing ranked matchups almost every game if you're in a good conference for the Big 12 and Big 10 and SEC, and you're playing on a big stage and you're playing on a neutral floor. These games should matter. This means more than the regular season to me.
Yeah.
But
And the committee guy did come on and talk about Iowa State because they asked him about the 1 seed, and he did say they're non-con just because it was so weak, which they did play the School of the Blind 12 times. So, and then you do look at North Carolina and look at their non-con. They played a lot of good teams. So I will say that, but it's kind of like a what have you done for me recently? And if you look at that, I mean, Iowa State's far and away better than North Carolina.
I completely agree. Our non-con schedule was soft as baby shit. I get that, but our regular season conference schedule was way tougher than the ACC that North Carolina played in.
Yeah, no, there's no way they updated this after the conference tournaments. It's interesting bracket for sure.
Yeah, and I thought Oklahoma I thought they were going to get in easily. I think they had a losing record in conference, and then they went out early in the conference tournament. But they started the year like 13-0. I know that's obviously way back when, but I think that's got to count for something. They had a great non-conference, and I thought they did enough in-conference play to be in. And I don't think any of those Mountain West schools should be playing in the first four. I think FAU should have been playing the first four.
Yeah, FAU is an 8th. It's kind of a head scratcher.
It is, yeah.
And same with Gonzaga and St. Mary's being the same seed. That's a little interesting too, because St. Mary's beat them twice this year. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Even Michigan State getting in, like Michigan State's good, but what are they, a 9 seed? Like, I don't know if they should be a 9 seed. They should be playing in. What the hell?
Right. And
so,
then, of course, Gonzaga as a 5 playing another West Coast, the best West Coast 12 seed who everybody wants to see play. So, like you said, they definitely cooked up some of these games for ratings, like a potential Drake, Iowa State. You said Caleb Bluff, Arizona. Like, come on.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's definitely interesting. It's almost like the big time programs with the good head coach, like the good classic head coaches like Mark Few and Tom Izzo kind of get a favorable draw.
Yep.
So yeah, that's really all I got. I haven't really dove into the bracket much. So you guys are going to run a bracket, right?
We're going to run a bracket. We got a spread pool going. And I think we need to get the player pool going as well. So
we did that last year, right? Or I've heard of that, the player pools. Those are fun.
We'll have to have a couple of different ones, but you take a player from each seed line. So you get a 1 seed player, 2 seed player, 3 seed player, and the most cumulative points at the end of the tournament. That's how you know if you won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be fun.
Good time.
All righty. Well, good talking with you, boys. Need to go take a look at the bracket. I don't even know the women's. Oh, Iowa State got a 7 seed in the women's. So yeah, I need to take a look at that. Hopefully they kept South Carolina and LSU away from the Iowa women.
So yeah, we'll see if the SEC is good in the tournament, and we'll see if Purdue goes out early. Those were Stolken's 2 big takes the whole year. So hopefully they come through.
Hottest take, TCU over Purdue. Book it.
I like it.
All righty.
Thanks for joining us, Stolken.
Yep. See you, boys.
See you, Bobby.
So he was the third of our boots in the ground. We had Mitch Longhorn in the Big 12. We had Josh today going to the Big 10 championship game. And then Stolken went to, I think, the the quarterfinals of the Summit League. So we had 3 correspondents in doing some road action for us. And we have our final guest of the night, our good buddy JJ, ex-Radiohead, is joining us. And he has a lot to talk about. His Fighting Illini, who closed out conference tournament play by crowning themselves as champions of the Big Ten Conference.
How we doing tonight, fellas?
We're doing good. Thanks for coming on.
Jay, how we doing?
Man, been too long. But thanks to you guys. I do want to say thanks to the frickin' Illini, man. It's been a tough couple sports years for your boy. And, man, I don't want to sell short winning a Big Ten championship. Those are hard to come by. Yeah. But Brad Underwood talked about it today in his presser. We're here to win national championships. If that's not the goal at Illinois, I don't want to be a fan anymore. Kind of just reiterating what everybody else said. Just not a good draw and being in the East. Don't want to see UConn. The 4 best conference champions, not just 4 conference champions, probably the 4 best conference champions all being in the same spot. I think, though, this is a big year for the Illini and the fact of if we don't make the second weekend, that's a tough look. Obviously not making it in the IO and Kofi year was hard, having a 1 seed, not making it. But this year, too, I mean, just the matchups are kind of they're definitely tough in that whole region, but I don't know too much about Morehead State, but I'd like to think, like you said, I think, they might cover a 14-point spread, but you'd like to think that's a win. And then that BYU Duquesne matchup, I would just like to think the big players will step up and get us through to a Sweet 16 type of weekend. So that's kind of my initial looks on it. I've looked at it a little bit. I think some of the stuff that you guys were talking about didn't really look like you're talking about how the conference tournaments really didn't matter. That kind of hurt the soul because this is just as fun of a week almost as that first weekend, where you do get teams that know each other, a lot of ranked matchups, bragging rights, right? You might have lost twice. Like I really wanted to see Purdue today, just because both our games against them this year were tight, and so I think that was kind of hard to watch. Sucks Indiana State couldn't sneak in. They're a fun watch, but again, it's going to shape up to be a great March, I think, regardless. I don't know. I'm thinking. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, you mentioned it. Like that East region is just bizarre how they stacked it. And you said it perfectly. Not only is it some of the conference champions on the same side, it might be the best. Like you said, just it's very bizarre how that works out. Fortunately, though, I do like your little your run to the path of the Sweet 16. I do like Illinois' chances. Morehead State. I look at the line right now, 12.5 favorite. I think that's about right. 11, 10, 12-point game. They might play close for a half. Morehead State, I believe, has some history in the tournament. Did they have like Kenneth Farid on their team or something like that? I feel like they had a good player on their team.
That sounds about right. That sounds right.
Yeah. So I mean, they have some history, I think, in the tournament, but I think you're looking at a good spot for them there. And then you said potential. We look at potential second round matchups. You have Duquesne, who wins the A10. Good for them, but I think they'll probably lose to BYU. But BYU was playing good ball, but they lost right away. And I mean, I've watched a lot of Big 12 and a lot of Big 10 this year, and I'm not even just being biased. I think Illinois would shellac BYU.
Yeah, they won some good. BYU won some big games this year, but I think this year the big difference for the Illini was like in our marquee games, we didn't really have any stinkers. We didn't necessarily maybe have the highs that like a last year's team had, where they go and beat like a UCLA or whoever. But this year though, like both losses, Purdue tight, Marquette at home. They obviously ended up having a really good year. That was a tight game. At Tennessee was like a 5-point loss, and I know you guys are kind of. Some people have been talking high about them too. They have a really good shot this year to win it all, and so I don't know. I just think, and the star power this year. I mean, shout out them being able to go find a guy like a Damask. I know we like at Southern Illinois. That was look at that, 2 guys from Southern Illinois starting on the two of the best teams in the country with is that Jones at Purdue, and crazy that they were teammates and huge contributors for 2 of the best teams in the country. So like I said, but some of those matchups, like an Iowa State matchup, I think would be awesome. It would be just great for college basketball. That would be a lot of athletes running around on that game.
Yeah, I think in your opinion, and don't hold back. Well, first of all, you give me kind of Brad Underwood vibes, JJ, a little bit.
I freaking love Brad. I think he's like the best thing that's happened to Illinois basketball since like D Brown. I mean, when I was growing up, we had Brandon Paul. He was pretty good. And John Gross, but like, but yeah, that's not it. So yeah, I love Brad. I love just the toughness he brings to the team, because like there is no reason they should not be a good national level team every year.
They you're a 3 seed. I've been a 3 seed against the UAB, and we lost. And since that point on, I don't care what seed we are, I'm always going to be nervous first round. But I think if I was an Illinois fan and not an Iowa State fan, I think if there's any 2 seed I'd want on my region, it'd probably be Iowa State.
I think so. Just because sometimes that offense can struggle a little, but the defense is what scares me as from the matchup wise. Because we've been better at shooting threes this year. Obviously, Shannon taking steps and getting a Damask. But your guys' defense, obviously, we just saw it yesterday with how they handled a Houston team that's obviously got cutting down the net's potential and hype. And so I don't know. I know you were talking about the storyline being more nervous for Drake. I get that perspective because I went through that same exact thing with Loyola Chicago when we were 1 seed.
Yep,
so
that's right.
That is real. That you have a real, reason to be concerned with that perspective. But I would say, obviously, basketball-wise, the matchup would be Illinois. That would be in those early matchups for them. That would be a little concerning. But like you said earlier, just being in the UConn part sucks for both our teams. That's because we saw Houston, they could get cold. North Carolina, they've kind of had a little up and down, but the last couple of weeks they really put it together. And Purdue is Purdue in March. I'll believe it when I see it, especially being an Illinois guy with us kind of being at the neck and neck in the Big Ten the last couple of years. And I mean, and don't get me wrong, they're a good freaking team. Smith, or was that Lawyer, Fletcher, whatever, I forget his name.
Yep.
The two,
Yep.
what was McAfee say? The white boys that can ball, whatever. They
Yeah.
took big steps this year. So, and Edie's gonna Edie. Like, he's a 2010 guy, unless you have another guy like that, which nobody does. So it's.
And if we meet in the Sweet 16, that would mean the one, assuming UConn makes it there, that means the 1, 2, and 3 seeds are all in the Sweet 16, which would be a very chalky region.
Exactly.
Just curious, being an Illinois fan, do you have Loyola Chicago fans in your ear? Like, do you know any that are like
Not
talking shit?
really. It's a very prestigious academic school, so I know you guys will be shocked to hear this, but not a lot of my friends were getting into Loyola Chicago. It was more honestly like them going on that run when they did was like cool because of the fact that like your Illinois and Northwesterns haven't been making those runs. So it was like cool to cheer for them then, but then when they did it to us, I didn't have really people in my ear besides just the typical haters. But no, I don't know too many Loyola Chicago fans.
Okay.
What about any UIC fans?
I think I know more. It's also criminal too. That's a good talking point for an off-season talk one time. It's just the fact that a school like DePaul is how bad they are. They are in the heart of the best basketball city in America, and I'll go to my grave for that. I know New York's up there, and you could talk St. John's and all that, being downtown there, but I mean, DePaul used to be one of those teams in the 90s and the 80s, and so that's crazy. But yeah, that's besides Illinois and Northwestern, it gets real. You got your SIUs and your Eastern. Like, there's really not that team to really root for. Like, at least you guys have like a Drake who can put on, and it's like, okay, they've been good. And we get Loyola Chicago, I guess, and they made a jump, and they figured it out after kind of starting out slow from moving the conferences. But I think that's good. I think it's just good for the state.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about Illinois and the Big Ten also. So Illinois, I mean, a lot of times, like when Iowa, for example, won the Big Ten 2 years ago, it did seem a little fluky, honestly. But this Illinois championship, I don't think was fluky at all. I think that's championship basketball. You played Ohio State in the first round and were tested and got down. I think a lot of people thought, oh, Ohio State might beat them. Illinois, they're looking ahead to the tournament. They kind of had these NBA stars. They're not really looking, to compete in the tournament. And you got down against Ohio State, came back and won. Then the Nebraska game, they looked like they were going to win the whole damn conference tournament yesterday with the way they started. Then you battled back and then went kind of handily. And then today, obviously, Wisconsin went on the runs, but I thought from the start to finish, it was Illinois' game. I thought they were the better team. I wasn't really concerned at all that Wisconsin was going to win that game. So I think you guys are – I don't think it was a fluke run. I think you guys are primed for the tournament. I'm actually rooting for you guys. I know we kind of have like a friendly rivalry. I guess not really friendly, but Illinois and Iowa's kind of turned into a little bit of a rivalry the last couple of years. But I'm actually rooting for you guys. I think you guys will go far. And then I also want to get your thoughts on Purdue. I know you're a Big Ten guy. They lost last year to 16. Are they going to lose again? This is the most talented team they've had. I think even more talented than last year. What are your thoughts on them? And then what are your final thoughts on Illinois? Maybe like a Final Four prediction too.
Yeah, I think Purdue is legit this year. Like, they are a really good team. I said I'll believe it when I see it, but I mean, if there is a year for them to do it, this would be the year. Because of that improved, I mean, it's kind of the talking point of the nation, right? That improved guard play, because like we said, Zach Edey is Zach Edey. Like, we know that. You can't stop him. He gets officiated, right? At some point he's going to get his. And Matt Painter, honestly, he wins. I know he hasn't done a lot in March, obviously, but I mean, year in and year out in the Big Ten, that's a battle, and he always has Purdue up there. I got to recheck they're playing a winner of a play-in, right? I don't remember exactly who, but
I think they will. I think they will avoid the 16 upset this year for sure.
I don't think that's a possibility. I know I saw Stolken was talking about TCU, but if they can get past maybe that first weekend scaries a little bit, you got to think, right? Because that next 2 games of the 4 teams is like the kind of popular upset picks with McNeese and Samford a little bit. I would think they're better. They're better than Gonzaga. They're better than Kansas. So, I mean, like I said, I do really think if there is a year where they can make a Final Four run, this should be the year. So I like Purdue a lot in that regard. I think they're just going to be a tough out because when you're playing those games now, foul trouble for every team in the tournament. When it's elimination, it's crazy, but for them in specific is big. Just with Edey, obviously, and the guards, because and Smith, I know, kind of twisted his knee up the other day. That was a little funky. Hopefully he's all good. I don't want there to be any excuses for him about why if something happens. So I do think they have Final Four potential. I think they have national championship potential. I think that they should, if you're a Purdue fan, like you should be excited, I think, about this opportunity. I don't know how I missed the beginning of the show. I'm sure you guys touched on them. What do you guys think? You feel that same way, or are we thinking it's kind of same old?
Well, I'll go first. So like the Big Ten, this is like, I guess you would probably consider this as like a down year in the Big Ten. And it was. I mean, was it last year, 2 years ago? We had like 10 teams in, so it was kind of a down year. But also at the same time, like you said, and you talk about the year Virginia lost to a 16 seed, or the year after they lost to a 16 seed, they won the whole damn thing.
Yep.
So you got to keep that in mind. Purdue, I think, has a pretty easy path. I think you said they loaded up on the East region, so those other 1 seeds are kind of like, I think you got to be feeling good about where you're at. They made it really tough for UConn. So I think Purdue has a good chance to go to the Final Four. You have Michigan State, who I think made the Elite Eight last year as like an 8 seed. They have potential to go far. I mean, that roster is a top 3 seed roster. They just haven't played up to that potential. So they could go far. We've talked about Illinois. And so I don't think Northwestern's going to go on a run. But I think between those 3 teams, you're looking at with Purdue, especially with Purdue, I don't think there's been a better chance for the Big Ten to end that nasty – no national championship streak than this year. I think Purdue or even Illinois as a 3 seed has potential to go to the national championship game this year.
I'm in between on them because you brought up a good point. Virginia loses as a 1 seed, comes back the next year, wins the whole thing. And then you have the other side, Matt Painter can't coach in March. They never seem to get shit done when it matters. Let's put it this way. I won't be putting any futures on Purdue to be winning it all or getting the Final Four, but I will not be betting against them in the first 2 games for sure. So I'm on the fence with them. I don't know. Recent history tells me they're going to be exiting early, but you also mentioned they have a region that could have a lot of upsets, and they may not be playing any of the real good teams in that region. So I'm going to have to wait and see. I don't know. I'm in the same boat with Illinois too. Big Ten has my brain in a pretzel.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of what they do, right?
Right, absolutely. Well, JJ, I guess congratulations to both of you guys, conference champions, and 2 of the best leagues in all of America. That's not easy to do, and you guys did it both in impressive fashion. So credit to both of you guys. Thanks for joining us, JJ. I think Illinois, I think for your sake, we'll get past the first weekend. So
I hope so. Yeah. And I think one thing for you guys, just to leave you with, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
This is the year, right? Looking at their spot. Otherwise, I mean, I know you can't really probably fire Cal. It's probably past that point of him getting fired, but man, the way they got a setup going, they don't make a run this year. That's not good because those Kentucky blue blood fans, they're not gonna be happy with just keep getting these recruits and not showing anything for it. So that's a team for me to watch in that kind of, hey, this is a big tournament for them.
Do you think they'll go far, or do you think that means – I think they play good ball, but then they kind of look bad in the conference tournament. So what do you think they'll go far, or do you think they'll continue that recent trend where they lose right away?
It's hard to say they will. I think the SEC in total, not a big defensive league. Kind of flip it from their football counterparts, right? They're not that Alabama-Charleston game might be over 400. Like the SEC that are really good – for whatever reason, they have like NBA level offenses throughout. And I think Kentucky is one of those teams they could put up with anybody. But man, I think the defense and I think a little bit of inexperience might hold them back. But that's where I think you lean on your coach. And I think that's why I do really think it's a big tournament for Cal. I think they have a really good shot. they could be an Elite Eight team for me. I haven't really filled out my bracket yet, but early looks at it, I would pencil them in. I think with the pressure, Cal, talent, I think they could do it.
I think so too. I think that's a good thing to leave us with. You're a great last guest to have, JJ. Again, congratulations on the Illini. Thanks for joining us, and we'll send you off with that. And do you have any final thoughts, Brandon? I guess the brackets came out. We kind of just hopped on, so we kind of just gave you first glances. But I thought we got a lot of great insight there. Obviously, we have some Cyclone fans. We had some Creighton fans. Then Big Ten talk. A lot of Big Ten fans. And we even had Slocum with the Summit League. So I think we had a good analysis, especially right after the bracket came out. I thought we did our best. The guests were incredible, every one of them from start to finish. Like I said, JJ was a great way to end it. So I thought it was a great episode.
Yeah.
Are we doing a one tomorrow night? Have we decided yet?
We haven't decided yet. We'll talk about that after. I do have two things.
Yeah, get the bracket.
Okay, three things. Number one, JJ brought up a good point, and I brought it up earlier with Purdue that I completely forgot about, and I'm 100% nervous about, is foul trouble. And obviously, we play up in real tight defense. If we get a wrapping crew that likes to call the ticky-tack fouls, we could be in trouble in either one of those games. And then two, you guys were great tonight. Thanks for everybody coming on. I think we had a lot of different, we heard some good things and bad things about almost every team. So we got a lot of different perspectives. It's the best time of year. This is the absolute best time of year, the best postseason in any sporting event. I'm excited. It's going to be great. I think there's going to be a lot of upsets. It's certainly going to be filled with madness. And I'm excited to do the podcast for the next couple of weeks until it's over. So,
right, it's going to be a fun couple of weeks for sure. We just finished conference championship week, and we waste no time. You have tomorrow off, rest all night tomorrow because the first four starts Tuesday, and then obviously you're going to be glued to the wall Thursday through Sunday. So we'll let's plug that our bracket challenge though. Send your brackets. We're not doing it traditional ESPN way. That's just too easy. Lamb on the Line likes to go all in. We really like to go all out. So I think we found a better way. I think it would be more entertaining. Instead of just seeing, plugging in on ESPN and they do it for you, send us a picture, a fax, whatever of your bracket. We will manually tabulate it. The scoring system, I've done the same thing for years and years. First round, 1 point. Second round, 2 points. Sweet 16, 4. You just keep doubling up. Elite 8, 8. Sweet Final Four, 16. You make it to the championship game, 32. You get a national champion, you get 64 points. 64 teams in the main bracket after the first four. 64 points for your champion. I think it makes good sense. So that's full disclosure. That is
email it to lamontheline@gmail.com. lamontheline@gmail.com. I'll text it out to those who I know are going to be in it. But email them to that, please.
Mm-hmm. And then also, I always do extra point. If you in the first round, if you have a 12 seed or higher winning, again, extra point. This year, I'm taking that a little bit further. You get an 11 seed or higher this year, I'll give you an extra point on that upset. Just because the 11 seeds this year, it's unique. Usually, that's your first four or your first four games are the 11 seeds. This year, because of all the teams that came in late that weren't supposed to win, the first four teams are 10 seeds. The 11 seeds are fucking like. If you look at the 11 seeds this year, it's a lot of mid-major conference champs in all those regions. You have Oregon, who wasn't supposed to get in. You have NC State, who wasn't supposed to get in. And then you have Duquesne, who is from the A10, and you have New Mexico. So this year I'm opening up to 11 seeds. If you pick 11 over 6, I'll give you an extra point too. But that's the scoring. Send your brackets into lamontheline@gmail. Is that what it is?
Yep, lamontheline@gmail.com. Exactly how you think it's spelled. That's how it's spelled.
Awesome. And then explain the pools that you have going too.
Those will be on the side. You'll be in one of them.
Okay, that's on the side. All right, sweet. But that's our bracket challenge.
$10.
$10. The winner takes the pot, right?
Yep.
Okay, winner takes the pot. So go all in. Do your research. You have plenty of time. Get your brackets in before the first game. Thursday starts at 11 a.m. And holy shit, what a way to start the day too, by the way. Michigan State, Mississippi State kicking us off in the first round on Thursday. So, and it ends with Drake and Washington State. So Thursday's going to be an incredible day. Get your brackets in. $10 entry fee. Winner takes the pot. And we'll update you we want to do like a big group chat or something. He said we'll update the standings as we go, something like that.
Well, you have to tune in to lay 'em on the line to know where you're standing.
That's right. We'll do live shows. It'll be fun. It's going to be a fun couple weeks. We're coming up to the 2-hour mark, so we will wrap it up. Thanks again for everybody who joined us. Congrats one more time, Sheets. Incredible win yesterday. It was fun to watch.
Thank you.
Yeah, great podcast. Everybody who tuned in. Also, one last comment too. I forgot to see this. We were talking about the potential Kansas upset. Sanford played one tournament team this year. They lost to Purdue by 50. So that's important to note. I think Kansas will win that first game. But good comments, good guess, good analysis. Thanks everybody who joined. This has been another edition of Lay 'em on the Line. Go fill out your brackets. Send it in. Lay 'em on the line Gmail. And we will be connecting with you in the next couple of days as the tournament goes on.